We want to welcome Shelly Jo Wahlstrom to the podcast today. She is the amino acid lady and the hypnotherapist. She is a passionate and dedicated certified clinical hypnotherapist, certified addiction recovery and mental health nutritional coach, amino acid therapy specialist, and she owns the Shelly Jo Hypno Amino Nutrition. She was voted the top 25 coolest things in Utah. And she was in the Standard Examiner, the Best of Northern Utah 2019, Best Natural Product and Best of 2019 Roy Hypnotherapy Services. Her wholesale program, Amino Acid Teams, train practitioners to add amino acids to their practice. So we want to welcome you, Shelly, to the podcast today. And I guess we can call you the amino acid lady. Is that right?
Yes, that is appropriate. Yes.
So you got that name finally, huh?
I did. I had it trademarked and everything. It belongs to me.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty excited.
So, Shelly, can you kind of tell us how you first got into amino acids and how you came to find out how amazing they were?
I would love to, Liz. So, the way my program is, and it kind of starts from there, but it's feed your brain and change your life. I do that by feeding your brain with amino acids, feed your body with nutrition, and feed and change your thoughts with hypnotherapy. Kind of like a three-legged stool. If all three legs are strong, that stool can stand. When we have all three legs of those working, our brain, our body, and our thoughts, we have optimal health. When one of those areas is not strong, then that's the one we want to address and look into, figure out what's going to make you feel better. The reason I'm super passionate about this is it's because of my own journey. I was on a journey to find help from my own daughter. I have three daughters, but my youngest is in recovery for addiction. At age 6, she was diagnosed with anxiety, and so we did what all moms, dads do.
The standard medical kind of stuff.
Yep, got her on the meds, and I'm not against meds. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe. I don't diagnose, and I'm not against them. I feel like they have a purpose. They just don't heal anybody. And we went from med to med to doctor, and at age 15, she came to me and said, "Mom, I'm tired of being a doctor science project. I just want to feel normal." And unfortunately, her normal came to her by, at that moment, being introduced to alcohol, then drugs. And to her, all of a sudden, her mind was like, oh my gosh. It was what, unfortunately, she was looking for that gave her that feeling of what normal would be. And it took us down this really scary path of, I watched her go from this beautiful flower, amazing, talented girl down to withering, down to nothing, almost graduating. And when we got out of graduation, we got her into a rehab program thinking, okay, that's the path to take. And this program really didn't know how to take care of an 18-year-old. She came out of it, yes, not using drugs or alcohol, but she came out of it addicted to sugar and caffeine and tobacco. She was clean.
She changed her vices.
Yeah.
Yes. She changed her vices. One thing and the next. And within 30 days, she got with her roommate that she was in the rehab center with, who introduced her to meth.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's like, yay, we went from marijuana to meth. And that is really the drug of the devil. If you've worked with somebody who's on meth, it's scary. It takes over their whole personality. And as a mom, I became really afraid because when she would leave the house, I didn't know whether I was going to see her again. I'd track her, and I knew she was going and getting drugs. And all I could do was pray, Heavenly Father, I need help. She's either going to kill somebody, she's going to kill herself, or she's going to end up in jail. And I, as a mom, I really thought that I could love her out of addiction. And I found out that that's not possible, that there's other things going on that we're not even aware of. And so at the time, I was already a hypnotherapist. So I really wanted to help people. And, I would have these clients, and they would come in and I'd help them. And then I think, yes, we did great. And then they come back and it was like 50 first dates. And I'm thinking, I know we cleared this stuff. I know they had the ability. I know they had the desire. Something was missing. And I couldn't put my finger on what that was. Well, at the same time, my daughter had been put in jail 3 times. Now, me, if I was there put in jail, I would never have to go there again, right? And so it didn't make, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. This is not making sense. Obviously, I'm not understanding what addiction is. So I happened to watch a story on a consumer story on how they're using amino acids in rehab centers. And what they find is that what I've learned about addiction is most people are just self-medicating. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be an addict. And when they're not using, they're just white knuckling it. So it's not like they feel good. It's just that they've decided, or the judge has decided, or the family has decided that they can no longer use the substance. Or they don't feel good.
Well, that's one of the biggest problems with the addiction recovery places is they do not do anything with the natural side of things, and they never ever give alternatives in terms of, hey, if we fix your gut, if we fix this, then you won't have those cravings. And that's the biggest problem. We actually have someone coming at this conference that does rehab in a natural way, so that's kind of cool. But so it kind of falls along with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what they do is these rehab centers will give large doses of amino acids through an IV. And what they have found is after 3 days, their cravings start to go away. And after 10 days, they're almost completely gone. Their rate of, the rate of recovery is 85%, which is phenomenal.
Right. Compared to what, 20% on the other side?
Yeah. Yeah. The 20% or whatever. And so I knew it was my answer, but it's $1,000 a day. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the only answer, well, I'll figure out how to pay for it. But then I thought, well, maybe there's something, maybe there's something about this that'll help my clients also. But I didn't know how I was going to go to them and say, okay, I got this great program, but you're going to pay $1,000 a day. So I started Googling and I found out what the amino acids were. And I knew that you could get them in supplement form. So I thought, well, I'll just go to the health food store, buy a whole bunch of amino acids, give my daughter a large dose of amino acids. I mean, it made perfectly sense to me. And luckily, my son-in-law, who's an RN, said you can't just throw amino acid at people. You need to understand them. So I found a rehab center in Florida that was using the supplements and not the IV.
Not the IVs.
And I called him and said, help me. I have a daughter who I'm afraid. I have clients. I feel like they need help. He said, you know what? I can tell you all you need to know about amino acids. Or in 2 weeks, we're having a training in Salt Lake on amino acids. You can learn everything you need to know.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that worked out good.
So to me, that was my answer to my prayer. And when I got there.
Why were they coming to Salt Lake?
They were just putting on a program for chiropractors and practitioners and nurses. And so that's why they had just picked this place. And it just happened to be that I happened to call them 2 weeks before they're coming. So, right. So I went, and when I got there, I started learning about how the amino acids help. And what I figured for myself is I'm a sugar addict, and I used to like Diet Coke. So one of the first ones they talked about is, well, let's go back a little bit. So what this is all about is in your brain, you have 4 neurotransmitters: the dopamine, which is your energy, your focus; your serotonin, which is your positive mind; your Gaba, which is your natural ability to relax; and your, what am I missing? Endorphins, and that's your happy. So when your brain is firing these neurotransmitters, they are your happy, calm, feel good chemicals. When your brain becomes depleted, and there's not really a rhyme or reason. So it could be because you were born that way. It could be because of high stress or lifestyle. It could be because you're over 40 and 60% of people's neurotransmitters stop firing correctly after age 40. So it's not like you did this or did that. It just, they stop firing the way they're supposed to. So when they do, the symptoms may be anxiety, depression, lack of energy, lack of sleep, cravings, addiction, weight gain. Those become real. So as I started to learn this process and I went through this class, the first one we talked about was dopamine. And dopamine, like I said, is your focus, your drive, your willpower, your energy.
Isn't dopamine considered like the feel-good neurotransmitter as well?
Yeah, and so when somebody's dopamine is low, then they're tired, they don't have any energy, and they have a craving, because each of the neurotransmitters, there's a craving linked to it. And when the dopamine is low, you crave something for stimulation.
Right.
Caffeine, sugar, starches, meth, Adderall is something that people take to bring that up. Well, the teacher had us rate from 0 to 10. 0, never felt this way. 10, oh my gosh, I feel this way all the time. So for me, it was 11 o'clock, I'm exhausted. All I want is a nap. All I want is sugar and Diet Coke. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get through this until 5 o'clock? So she said, take a tyrosine, because tyrosine is the amino acid that goes into dopamine.
Yeah.
And she said, if you need it, you're going to feel a difference in 20 minutes or less. So I took one, and 20 minutes later, I could feel there was a difference. I was like, okay, is this a placebo effect or is this like real? Because I could feel my energy coming up. I could feel my cravings coming down, but it wasn't quite there. And so she said, if you feel like you're not quite where you are, take another one. And I took another one.
So you were taking just straight tyrosine?
Straight tyrosine. Yep, 500 milligram tyrosine. And I went from, 20 minutes later, I went from having energy and I wasn't tired. So I went home and I'm like, oh my gosh, there really is something to this. And so I took 2 home, and I took them to my daughter and said, okay, take this. Because at that time she was on so many meds that literally all she was doing is sleeping. And I said,
this is your addiction daughter, right?
Yep, because she had gone through another rehab center and they put her on so much drugs like Klonopin and Trazodone, and there was like 6 of them that she was taking.
Basically just dumb them down is what they do. They're just, yeah. That's why that whole system doesn't work, because they're just depleting one drug, or they're changing one drug to another drug, and it's like, what's the deal? Yeah. And so I took him home and I said, okay, I have one chance to make this right for her. I said to her, take 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and then let me know how you feel. Well, I got back from the class that night and I said, how'd you feel? She's like, I felt jittery. And I was like, oh man, that means that she's really sensitive. So the next morning she came to me and said, Mom, can I have a couple of those energy pills? And I said, well, you said that they made you jittery. Well, that's because I took 2 of them with 3 cups of coffee at the same time. Okay? Because addicts, if 1 is good, then... Yeah, if 1 is good, then 5 is better, right?
Yeah. But then I started putting her on and I started to see, oh my gosh, there's a change. And then when I learned about all the different amino acids and the neurotransmitters, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I put her on them and I saw such a difference. And that it changed her life, that I started putting everybody I could think on. I became certified. I wanted to just share this message, because part of what I learned is that this information has been around since the 90s. And had she have known had I known about this when she was 6, then she may not have had to self-medicate at 15.
Right.
So I became very passionate about getting this message out. And what I found out is, it works really great for addicts. It's incredible. But there's also this big population of people who are struggling with anxiety, depression, stress, cravings, weight gain, all these things that aren't addicts. So then it opened up my range to, oh my gosh, what do I have here? So that's where my story came to. And then what I realized is what a difference this makes. So I know that you guys are aware of the amino acids and what they do, and there are specifically 6 of them. The first one is 5-HTP, because let's talk about serotonin for a moment. So serotonin follows the light. Most people who their serotonin is low is because, well, when it's low, it's because how do I want to say this? They actually crave things in the afternoon and evening. So usually it's sugar and starches. Alcohol is a big one, marijuana. But if you think about that, when you think of like why there's like happy hour at the bars at 4 to 5, well, that's because when somebody's serotonin level is low, that's when their cravings are the most.
So
And
they
so
hit you then.
yeah, they can. They get off work, and that's when they work. Because, like I said, the serotonin follows the light. And so part of the challenge is if we don't get outside, we're not getting the light. And there's nothing to convert to melatonin, which helps us in the afternoon and evening, and to sleep. That's why winter blues in Utah is so hard on people, because we don't get outside and the days are so short that it's really, really hard to get that serotonin going. And so, some of the symptoms of low serotonin would be the anxiety, depression, perfectionism, OCD, irritability, rage, and even suicidal thoughts. So to help with that, there's what's called 5-HTP. 5-HTP converts to serotonin. Serotonin converts to melatonin. So that's kind of a process. So by taking 5-HTP, it helps to, what we're doing is instead of just putting a Band-Aid on things, we're actually helping to balance and build the neurotransmitters so that your brain can start doing what it's supposed to do. The great thing about amino acids is they're not meant to be on forever. You could be, they're not going to hurt you. Amino acids are just the building blocks of protein. You get them either from food or a supplement, or your body creates them. So you're not giving your body something that it doesn't already know what to do with. And by taking them, the whole idea is to get it so your brain is doing what it's supposed to. And the other cool thing is, as long as you're working with a doctor, if you're on meds, you can take them together. And the whole idea is to get them to start raising those neurotransmitters, so that if you work with your doctor and you feel like you're ready, you can start coming off of those meds and the amino acids can take over. And then once your brain, you take them long enough, your brain will start sustaining and it'll start firing. That's really cool about the amino acids. The other thing that's really cool is, like I said, if you need them, you're going to feel a difference in 20 minutes or less. So you're not waiting around going, how am I going to feel? And they're inexpensive. So you're not, there's something that it's doable and they're easily accessible. So that's really part of the beauty of it. So like I said, the first one is 5-HTP. The second one will be tryptophan. For people who don't sleep at night because they have racing thoughts, then they can take what's called tryptophan. And tryptophan is a essential amino acid, meaning your body does not create it, and it turns into 5-HTP. So that starts that process. For most people, it's more sedating, and that's why you use it at nighttime.
The 5-HTP or the tryptophan?
Tryptophan you use at nighttime. Then the next one would be your dopamine. Like I said, that's your energy. And when that is low, just like I told you, I've already said how that works, is that you crave something for stimulation. So the next amino acid is called tyrosine.
Now dopamine, you don't just take the amino acid dopamine though, right?
No, you take tyrosine.
Right. Okay.
So tyrosine converts to dopamine.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's the one that helps the dopamine. And
right.
So by getting it up, it helps with focus, it helps with energy, it helps with drive, and it helps to lower those cravings for the stimulation, which would be the caffeine and the sugars and the meth and things like that. Then we move on to the next one, which is the GABA. Now, where the serotonin is the racing thoughts or the spinning thoughts, the GABA is the physical feeling. So what happens is when your GABA is not working correctly, it's that physical feeling of being uptight, overstressed, can't calm down, like not in your stomach, like want to bite somebody's head off. That's kind of how I explain it. And a lot of people, when they feel that way, they'll go to like a Xanax or something that's going to calm them down.
So somebody
And
that's kind of like edgy, on the edge of wanting to, getting upset over everything just because they're on that edge.
Correct. Yes. And so the one that I use it's really effective. It's called Gaba Chill. In fact, it looks like this one, just so you can see. It's called Gaba Chill. It's like take a chill pill. And what it does is it takes you from that feeling. It's chewable, so you feel it really quickly. Within 10 minutes, you feel your body just go from like uptight to just being able to breathe and calm down. And so it's just working with that GABA neurotransmitter.
And are those ones you can take all throughout the day, or is it just certain times that you can take?
So GABA you can take as needed. Usually you don't recommend more than 500 milligrams at a time. That's 1 to 2. And the reason is for some people, GABA converts to glutamate, and that's a natural process. But some people, it converts really quickly. So if you're somebody who converts GABA to glutamate really quickly, then when you take more GABA, it could cause you to feel more like an agitated feeling, because glutamate is an excitatory.
Isn't there something called GABA challenge? Do you do the GABA challenge?
I don't do a GABA challenge. No, I will tell them. I'll let them know that GABA may do that, and if it is, it doesn't mean they can't take it. They just need to take less of it. The GABA that I use actually has inositol, theanine, and tyrosine in it, which helps to stop that conversion as quickly. And the cool thing is it tastes really good. It tastes like oranges, like pixie stick ducks. It reminds me of like a pixie stick, an orange pixie stick. Then the next one is called, is for endorphins. Now, endorphins are you happy, right? If you've seen that show, Legally Blonde, where she's like, there's no way she could have killed her husband because she exercised. Exercise causes endorphins. Endorphins make people happy. Happy people don't kill her husband, right? That's what endorphins do. So as human beings, when your endorphins are low, you're looking for comfort, reward, or numbing. And you're looking for that in food or alcohol or drugs, but it's also in a destructive behavior. Pornography, shopping, gaming, gambling, internet, social media, all of those things. We're looking for something we can just like check out. Mm-hmm. And the symptoms of somebody whose endorphins are low could be cry easily, very sensitive, emotional, physical pain. Somebody who's a cutter, who cuts to release because they're either can't feel, and when they cut, it releases a surge of endorphins, or they feel too much. And so by cutting, it kind of releases that endorphins. And the sad thing about the endorphins is that's also where the opiate addiction comes from. They talk about this big opiate crisis that we're living in. And the opiates, what happens is you don't choose an opiate addiction, it chooses you. And what I mean by that is you could take somebody who's never been on drugs, they've never been in a hospital, they go in for surgery, the doctors give them, a Lortab or oxycodone, and instantly their brain goes, what is that? That is amazing. And they become instantly addicted.
Well, it's pretty cool. You can do like PET scans and you can see the brains just totally light up for different things, like all these neurotransmitters. They all have areas in the brain that, when they're being stimulated or not being stimulated, you can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the hard part is now also you've got somebody who's addicted. And if they can't get the opiates because of the opiate craze that now doctors are so, very stringent on how they can give them, they can turn to heroin because it does the same thing and it's cheaper.
Right.
So it's really, really scary. So by utilizing the amino acids, it just makes such a huge difference in how,
you're actually giving your brain what it needs at that time.
Correct.
Rather than these extra stimulations or extra food or whatever it is, you're actually giving your brain what it needs so it doesn't need those other things.
Correct. Absolutely. The last one that I use is glutamine, and glutamine is it's the one that your body produces the most of, but it's also used in most places. So it's used in your brain and your muscles and your stomach, and it's also a brain cell food. So it's feeding your brain what your brain needs. So when your brain is depleted of something, it's going to go to what it can get the fastest, whether it's sugar or starches, where this is actually feeding the brain, and it keeps your blood sugar level. By keeping it level, you stay out of that hypoglycemic state where you spike and then you drop and you spike and you drop, which causes your brain to shut down, the prefrontal cortex, which is your it makes you irritable, like hangry, and irrational, meaning you make a choice and you don't care about the outcome. It's just like, I got to have what I got to have. So working with all these different ones, and not everybody needs all of them. Some people might need one or two. Some people may need all of them. It's just a process of figuring out which works best for you. Now, I do have my own line of amino acids.
Yeah, you do. And you created those. So you had been using everybody else's lines. What made you decide to create your own line?
There was a couple of reasons. The first one was I would sit down with a client and I'd say, okay, this is what you need. Now go to the health food store and buy it. And then I call them a couple of days later and say, how you feeling? They're going, well, I haven't had a chance to go to the health food store. And I'm like, I just told you how I can make you feel better, and you can't even go to the health food store and buy them. And then the second reason was I really didn't know what I was sending them to. So I would just say, go on Amazon, get whatever you want. And one day, I was presenting at a conference, and one of the ladies who is one of my clients, she said, why are you sending everybody to Amazon or the health food store? Why don't you have your own? And I thought, I don't know. I didn't know I could do that. Did you know you could do that? I mean, I had no clue that was even, I was like, really? You can get your own supplement line? It was mind-blowing. I'm like, okay. So within a month, I had found a manufacturer out of Orem. And the reason I'm very passionate about mine is because I know that they are what they are. I know what's in them. I know that they're vegan, that they're non-GMO, they're gluten-free, and they're all natural. And you can get
like specific combinations that you like, you talked about how you have some of these certain things in there it's not just straight that amino acid, you put multiple amino acids in one pill. Isn't that what you talked about, right?
No, I don't. So my GABA, GABA, yes, GABA does. So GABA it does, and the reason it has the other ones is to help with, so it doesn't convert, and it helps with focus. The other ones are strictly what they are, and the reason is a lot of people will see like a combination amino acid. Well, the challenge is
how much of each?
Yeah. So most of these, my amino acids are a lot. You have about 500 milligrams per pill, except for 5-HTP, which is 50. And if you had to put them all into one amino acid, you'd have like a horse pill. There's no way you could take it. The other reason is not everybody needs all of them of the amino acids. And so by having them being specific what they are, I can help my clients with that specific neurotransmitter and say, let's work on that neurotransmitter so you can be aware you're working to actually build it and to balance that neurotransmitter.
So you talked about that you have a special that's going on right now. You want to talk about that?
I do. So GABA is this is one of my favorite out of the 6. And the cool thing about mine is they tell you where they are. So like my GABA says Gaba Chill. My DLPA says happy. It's like your happy pill. So you can say, you're going to go take your happy pills. My glutamine is craving be gone. My tyrosine is the energy booster. I have a positive mind and positive sleep. So there's never any
question
confusion
what it's
what
for.
you take. Yeah. So this one, I like to say, we're into the happiest time of the year, right? The holidays are the most wonderful time of the year. They're also the most stressful, right? So before you go out and shop on Black Friday, or Small Business Saturday, or Cyber Monday, get some GABA so that that you can get rid of that stressful feeling, the uptight, stressful feeling.
Well, don't tell my wife that, because then she's going to put some in my food because she doesn't want me stressing over what she's spending.
good idea. I didn't think, give this to your husband and he'll be happy with what you do. Or, you know, if your teenager turns to you and says, you know, Mom, chill out, you can say, yes, I will. And you go get you a chill pill, right? But I'm doing a special for the rest of the week, and it is buy one at the retail price is $25.99. There's 90 in here, and get one half off. So then you'll be ready. What's that? Just with the GABA.
Oh, just with the GABA. Oh, okay.
Just the GABA. Yep.
So how can people get a hold of you then?
Because our time is short.
Okay, they can get a hold of me. They can get a hold of me through HypnoAminos. That's my website, hypnoaminos.com. You can get on, you can email me at shellyjohypno@gmail.com, or you can even call me at 801-643-3211. Follow me on Facebook, Shelly Jo Hypnoaminos, or also Instagram.
All right, good. Well, thank you, Shelly, for sharing with us. And I know that this is going to be a great benefit for people, and it could be answers that they're looking for. And I think that you were able to fulfill that for them. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.